This is ITV. Certainly the best. We thank you for staying with us on the show TMI Monday. Hope you're enjoying the discussion so far, the conversation so far. Remember, you can watch the program in any part of the world via our website, www.itvregionnigeria.com/live. I've got Reverend Dulu Martins with me, Executive Director, Canvassers for Democracy and Rule of Law. Reverend Dulu Martins, many thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Thank you for putting me on the map of the world.
And I also have Christian Osegali, is a social worker. Glad to have you here in the studio, and also a public affairs commentator. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
Okay, we're looking at the anti-corruption war with some of the new emerging issues. Now, one of them that is most topical is the NNPC, where the Minister of State for Petroleum has alleged that $25 billion contract was awarded illegally without due process being followed. Some have said, how could our own president, who is known as an anti-corruption czar, be in charge and such a thing would happen without him knowing? That's our take-off point, looking at the journey so far in an anti-corruption war. Gentlemen, thank you again for coming on the show. The war is also being fought in Edo State, if you know what I'm talking about, particularly with the SPED issue. That will also be part of the discussion in the later stages. Now, let's talk about what's happening at the federal level. Number one, monies have been recovered, right? And who these monies were recovered from, we don't know. How much this money is in total, we also don't know. You probably know. Christian, let me start off with you. Let me start off with you. Well, are we on the right track in this fight against corruption?
Yes, yes. You see, which I know the amount specifically.
Yeah.
But we can, from the feelers we get, normally we are used to listening to the bush lamp radio. From the information we gather is that at least they are hovering at close to 1 trillion. If what Professor Sage said yesterday on air was anything to go by, and he's privileged and he measured that amount. But I honestly believe that this administration is on the right track. Because
in the fight against corruption.
In the fight against corruption. Okay. Like I said so many times on air, everywhere I find myself, I basically decided to support this administration for 3 things he promised to do, because right from when I was in primary school, I knew that the problem of Nigeria is corruption, because it's now a trademark. And when the man said they were going to fight corruption, fight insecurity, and build the economy, I said, okay, I enter his page. And from the beginning, he has been doing his best. But I acknowledge the fact that you cannot fight corruption easily as pronounced, because corruption is like a monster, a big monster who have grown so much tap roots. The tentacles is so strong that you cannot just bring it down. The corruption we want to fight back, because it has over the years existed based on those illegalities that make it to be what it is today. And every facet of human existence, corruption has permeated comprehensively. From the family, the church that ought to be the pace setter. If you go there, it's horrible. If you go there, it's horrible. I was just reading what this Cardinal Koje said a few days ago, that when another man of God said they want to build more churches, and he said that is not the issue. That most of these churches are now business centers. And when we are honest with ourselves as a people, you know that it comes to a point in Nigeria where if you are not corrupt, you are not even a citizen of Nigeria. So for one person to now begin to see it as a task that must be done, just like Gowon said when the Biafra war was done, keeping Nigeria one is a task that must be done. This man is saying comprehensively, whether you like it or not, whether you hate me or not, fighting this monster is a task that must be done. Okay. And the man has not wavered. He has not bent in any way. The NNPC issue, I even thank God, this is the first time we are hearing such a thing, where a minister will complain about the director. This is a country where even such horror have gone on over time, nobody talk about it. Okay. You not discover that with that kind of information, then Nigeria is moving forward in the fight of corruption.
Let me pause it there and get Reverend Lou Martins. What are your misgivings about this fight against corruption?
Thank you very much. Firstly is that I suspect government by nature, by my training. I am suspicious by training. If my father becomes governor, I become suspect of him or suspicious of him. It's my training. And it is better as citizens that we approach government from that standpoint. Because it is Patrick Henry that says that suspect anybody that approaches the public liberty. Scrutinize them with a special eye. Because the moment you give up that right to suspect government, you are going down right as a people to destruction. In other words, it doesn't matter who President Muhammadu Buhari is. The moment he assumes office, he takes up the responsibility to redistribute public patrimony, to preside over the allocation or reallocation of human and capital resources. I become suspicious of him. Because we must enlarge this discussion to ask, is corruption simply misappropriating public funds or embezzling it? Does corruption include nepotism? Does it include favoritism? Does it include ethnicism? And does it include misanthropism? Does corruption, the fight against corruption, should we limit it to my ability to access public funds only? Or do we limit it to making it impossible for me to access public funds? Because we seem to think that the easiest fight against corruption is to wait for a man to steal the money. Meanwhile, we provide incentives for people to steal money. Let's take, for instance, a few years ago, people who were going for Hajj. Dollar was subsidized for them, such that if they collected the money at that subsidized rate and walked across at the black market, people were making hundreds of millions just by dollar subsidy. And Emir Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi, did say that before now what we had was fuel subsidy that made people billionaires. In the same vein, we have dollar subsidy that has made people billionaires. So we seem to have a system in this country that makes it easy for people to access public funds. Because the easiest fight against corruption is to restructure the economy in such a way that it is difficult for people to access public funds. Take America, for instance. No matter the good intentions of the president of America, he cannot donate any money for any gesture outside his own salary. Where will he get the money from? But in Nigeria, it is easy because there are overheads, there are underheads, there are slush funds, there are different kinds of monies made available for people to steal it. Just like Professor Magufuli said, of Kenya, he made a statement and said, we keep goats with hyenas. And then we express surprise that the hyena has eaten the goat. So I want to say very clearly that the fight against corruption, in my own candid opinion, firstly, let me applaud the gusto, the zeal of the president to even come up to say he wants to fight corruption. Because in the history of Nigeria, there's nobody that has done as much damage in the fight against corruption, all right, than the president has done. Nobody has had these startling revelations. Nobody has gone this far-reaching. But as far-reaching as he has gone, there are still a lot of issues to it. So my misgivings is that according to SSS, in this case now Senator Shehu Sani, he said, and I quote, that when it comes to fight against corruption, for those who are in the presidency, or if you like, the friends of the president seems to treat them with kid's glove, paraphrasing. But when it comes to those who are not the friends of the president seems to treat them with hammer. And there are instances to buttress it. We have the issue of Babache. We have the issue of Abba Kyari. We have the issue of the chief of army staff, where people who have been alleged to have been corrupt were handed over to Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Those of the people who are supposedly members of a phantom cabal, a committee is set up to investigate them. A few days ago, Professor Ise Sagi, who is the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, said, and I quote, paraphrasing, that it doesn't look like this APC government is essentially different from the PDP government in terms of the recklessness, or in terms of what happens on the issues of the fight against corruption. So I want to say very clearly that yes, a lot seems to have been done, but in the midst of all of this, there appears to be nepotism. Okay. There appears to be favoritism, and borrowing the way we were taught in primary school or secondary school, it looks like there are sacred cows, because what is good for the pregnant woman ultimately must be good for the man that gave her the pregnancy. If you issue maternity leave, there ought to be paternity leave, because it is not all men that can perform and put a seed there.
Thank you, Reverend Olu Martin. Kristen, it looks like we're all on the same page to a point that at least something is being done in the fight against corruption. Where there seems to be that dichotomy is the approach, and then this feeling that there are sacred cows, all right? Once you belong to the system in place, you are protected. You don't belong. I mean, what do you make of this kind of thinking?
I like my brother very well. When he's
just go straight to the point.
Yes,
go straight to the point. I have less time. Go straight to the point.
The point is that you see, when you talk of sacred cow or not, you see, people will always talk, and the beauty of it all is that people talk, but you that they are talking to, do you know where or what you are doing? Those are the basic issue. For me, fighting corruption, like he has likely said, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, outside when this same man was a military president, the emphasis now is corruption. Corruption. People are talking about it. A lot of people are talking about it. Those are the fundamental issues. It is the thing you keep on talking about that people show interest. What is really happening in this thing that is drumming for people to dance? Yeah. And now, if you discover that this man, because he's so close to me, he has been found guilty, or he has been alleged to have committed this offense or the other. But one thing is clear. In the history of Nigeria, from the report of EFCC last time, about 397 convictions within a year. That is unprecedented. And now, you see, time will come. You see, nothing good come easy. This man is just about 2 years plus. Let's assume and believe that God will sustain him, keep him. By the time he completes, the number of those that will be convicted will increase, and the issue of people that the propensity to steal will reduce. Like he said, the institution, it's not about catching people when they have stolen.
Yes, when they have stolen.
Yeah, when they have stolen. Now, apart from stealing, or whether you stole or you are about to steal, it's not the issue. The issue is that put mechanism in place to nip the intention in the bud. Like President Goodluck started the issue of TSA. Those are, according to him, the best way of putting those systematic formula in place. And to the God be the glory, this, he could not complete it, or whether the machinery was completed. Probably those old cabals that have always been there since I was born, make sure that they don't allow him to insist that TSA must be implemented. So this man came and said, well, since the mechanism has been put in place, it must be implemented. You know, this kind of, look at all the monies that were hitherto borrowed by the same federal government. Is now in the federal government coffer. Okay. And now all these things is a process. And with time, just like you plant corn today, and tomorrow you say you are preparing for harvest, something is wrong without the farmer. You must wait for the time of harvest so that you prepare for harvest. Everything has its time and season. And that is why, as you are doing that which you do, for the benefit of everybody, remain focused on it. And at the end of the day, those that you feel are untouchable now, even if at the end of the day this man fail to handle them, another person will come. Yes, if they handle these people, I must handle these people. When Jesus,
so which means you're not surprised that for now the case of Babacha Lawal, the former secretary to the government of the federation, that has not been made public. I mean, the vice president was the head of that committee that did the investigation. The report has not been made public. You don't have a problem with that for now?
No. The issue is this. The president came back and the vice president handed over the report. But I would have been very angry if, when the president came back and asked Babach to come back as secretary to government, he still remains suspended. The other man still remains suspended. Now they will prosecute. How many days ago did the Chief Justice of the Federation now said they are going to set up special courts to try corrupt cases? The corruption cases, the number are giant. In fact, they are so much that you cannot even handle them the same time. So by the time you now set up, as the Chief Justice directed now, High Court set up special courts within your jurisdiction, you discover that there will not be a speed in attending to all these corruption cases, and more people will now be brought on board. And if you observe of recent, the era of me, a very corrupt man, having taken money from the public, I will not have access money to take all the sand in Nigeria.
It's gone now.
It's gradually fading away.
Let me pause it there because our time is over. Let me get the final word from you, Olu Martin, on this fight against corruption, particularly what is played out in Edo State recently. Of course, the superb issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
First of all,
in 1 minute.
First of all, you were saying that we were trying to look at the dichotomies, why it looks like people are suspect in this regard, and it looks like there are double standards. I'm not sure that he delved into that, but that aside, first of all, the way SUBEB is structured across Nigeria is that you have a universal basic education, and there's how it operates. Then at the state level, it dovetails to the state level, just like we like to put it, you domesticate it. The State Education Board approves projects. That State Education Board has both permanent and non-permanent members. It is the project that are approved that is implemented. But you have instances, for instance, which looks like what appears to be playing out, where the chairman of the board takes some juicy projects to himself without it going through approvals, does the project without it going through approvals. Then you have the agency that investigates. Usually when they move in under the assumption that those projects were approved, by the board. And then everybody on the board, is moved in. But upon investigation, you will now find out that it looks like the chairman, acting on whatever instructions, cornered those juicy projects to himself without the other members knowing about it, and executes the project under the pretense that he is executing the project on behalf of certain states to inspect projects. And they had given the state SUBEB 95%. So what it means is that the problem wasn't projects that were executed. The problem perhaps is that the process for which the projects were executed and how it looked like there are some plum projects that didn't go through
Due process.
that looks like the chairman appropriated to himself without the knowledge of the other
So this is not about the project not being executed.
No, it's not. It's about the fact that the project didn't. There are a couple of projects. There are accusations, for instance, that it looks like some projects were sold, even though that evidence has not been established. But there are the cocoa of the matter, if I like to use that language, is that there are some main projects that didn't go, that the board members didn't know about, that it looked like the chairman cornered for himself for reasons best known to him. Secondly, is that we would expect that Benin City, until the location of this office here, is under the Port Harcourt zone of the EFCC. But the EFCC handling this thing is not the Port Harcourt zone that we're under, it is the Ibadan zone. So that begins to ask you questions to say, does it look like there's somebody
that is being targeted,
targeted for which everybody is being brought in? Thirdly, is that as I speak to you now, the member that now, because the board has been dissolved, their time has expired. The member representing, I was representing Edo South, and the one that representing Edo North, on certain instructions, certain administrative instructions, are not within the precinct of the prison. The only person who is at the precinct of the prison is the member representing Edo Central. That also raises an issue as to equality, before, the law. Okay. But by and large, the fundamental question, maybe the fourth one is, if you also look at the charge sheet by the EFCC, which is available, is that typical of EFCC, you will see 46 counts. But if you substantiate, you probably find out that there are 9, and then the other ones are, repeated to make the case glamorous and to make it media, attractive. Okay. At the end of the day, what is critical here is the fact that the law is made to take its due course without favoritism to anybody, and that if there is an issue with an individual, the merit of the case should be dealt with as that individual, instead of, if you like, bringing every body in just so that the case looks celebrated as it is today. But like I said, because there's a need for us to look at how at all the 36 states of the federation, how superb runs, runs, okay, and the peculiarity of the those states to bear, for which board just quickly finish their tenure now.
All right, let me just get a comment from you. I mean, this is the first time we're seeing this happening in Edo State. I mean, this obviously is in tandem, in your opinion, with the anti-corruption crusade.
Yes, you see, that's why I say. You see,
but you're not seeing it with energy.
No, you see, when
that's exhausted.
No, not really. When people begin to see the right thing being done and they begin to puncture it, the problem we have that is actually militating against fighting this corruption is collective action. Okay. The people, in solving a social problem, there must be collective action.
The people must take ownership.
That is the challenge. That is why I'm not happy even with the civil society group. With, like this former ambassador to Nigeria, John Campbell, said a few days ago, like when they were talking of the issue of former First Lady, how can a civil servant have $36 million, $35 million, and nobody is questioning it? Okay. Now, if you look at the Edo State, apart from this suburb, look at what the governor just did in terms of that blow that was blown during the exam issue. Directors have been suspended. Yeah. Action was taken. Such thing hardly happened before. Okay. Well, so gradually,
we're getting there.
I want to tell you,
this
nation, the building of Nigeria have just started few years ago.
All right, thank
and we'll get there. Nigeria is going to be very great.
Thank you very much. Well, it's been wonderful. Thank you, Reverend Martin.
Thank you,
Christian Usega.
Thank you so much.
It's been wonderful having these guys here with us on TMI this beautiful Monday morning. We'll just go to the last lap of the show. Yeah. Nigeria qualified for Russia 2018 World Cup. Yeah, it's up Nigeria. Up Nigeria. I mean, that's not just one moment that we forgot where we came from. Whether you are Igbo, you're Yoruba, you're Hausa, you are Isha, we just forgot it. That 90 minutes. All right, and this clip, I saw it online. I saw this clip online.
But Victor was putting in an effort. It's his hand that clipped the ball.
For this moment, this was the scenario.
Showing his cards there. Victor
And
Moses.
then you just watch out.
Enjoying his time at Chelsea, a regular now, even though he's playing in a different position.
Some have said, should Nigeria deploy Victor Moses in the position he plays at Chelsea? But that's going to be a bit of traffic on the edge of the stadium.
He can't. Yeah,
The basics have not haven't seen that. The moves can take out. And he's not.
Let's hear this.
In and around that Zambia can take out. That's Shehu Abdullahi. Is there a booking here? Yes, there is. And Shehu Abdullahi, last time his start showed he was well push up. He will be. But the cross got and the
With immediate precision, and when he had no cover whatsoever because there were bodies in front of him, and that's what he needed. Victor Moses, as he makes that run, the ball is brought back. Iwobi just makes contact with the ball. So many bodies in front of Gwen.
Victor Moses can finally.
Okay, yeah, just the sight and sound at the IDP camp celebrating the Super Eagles' victory in qualification for Russia 2018 World Cup. That's also a World Cup that's been blighted with corruption allegation surrounding how Russia got the slot or got the votes.
You know Russia.
Yes.
Russia and Qatar. Qatar got 2025.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, 22.
Yes.
And those two came under
serious scrutiny and attack.
It is the first time it's happened in a long time.
Yeah.
This has ever happened.
Yeah.
That 2 locations will be given for 2 World Cups.
Yeah.
Usually is that after the end of a World Cup, then you find the next
yes.
location.
Yes.
You know, that's why Sepp Blatter came under a lot of
attacks.
Yes,
and it was showing the exit door.
Yeah, and there are quite a lot of people that were under him. The president of the European Football Association, Michel Platini, and a couple of them.
Yeah.
You know, FIFA has been riddled with a lot of corruption, but we're happy that we can. You know, I watched the match. You know, standing. I like the Zambians came with a lot of energy, and give it to them. You know, 1 goal difference. I expected more because we're playing at home. Yes, I expected more. But
football has advanced, has developed. Yeah,
but the goal of Iwobi did. You know, I liked it because the ball control was good. The ball was pulled out, you know, from the
flanks.
You know, from the flanks, from the right flank.
Yeah.
And then he didn't trap the ball.
It
was good. And that was one of the moments where I was happy to be a Nigerian. I didn't know there was Fulani. I didn't know there was Boko.
Yes, you see, that, you know, I said earlier, Nigeria is going to be great. These are signs of good things to come.
Okay.
You see, if you see this thing that was done now in this pitch, and the euphoria, the joy
across the country,
this thing was done without even talking about restructuring, without talking of anything. All of us have a focus that we want to go to World Cup. Now, I think the next focus is now that we want to make impact in the World Cup. So there is this collective responsibility. We get results.
All right, thank you.
Where we are going.
Before you take over my program,
I'm hoping that's a good indication because we won Olympics in '94.
Yeah, that's our show today on TMI. We've come to the end of the road on TMI Monday. Hope you enjoyed it while it lasted. Listen to all the good things we said, take them out, and then apply them. We'll have a better and a greater country. On behalf of all of us here, the crew led by Bernard Osawa, we'll call him Obi. Of course, you want to know what OB stands for, I'll tell you another day. Behind the camera, Ogbedo Vincey, thank you so much. And of course, Akbos Segbona, thank you for or your support. I didn't see much of him today, but it's okay. He's just around doing some stuff. To all other crew members, I can't mention all the names. We thank you for your comments. Solomon Agbugi, dependable, reliable, authentic, outstanding, outlandish Solomon editor. We appreciate you for your contribution today. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun. Thanking you for staying with us. Have a beautiful week ahead. Bye for now.
This is ITV. Certainly the best.